Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for being here this evening. I call this meeting of the Pinellas County School Board of October 24th, 2023 to order. This evening, we will have a moment of silent reflection, followed by the presentation of the colors by the Hollins High School JROTC U.S. Army Unit under the direction of instructors Lieutenant Colonel James Collins and Commander Sergeant Major Edwin Rivera. The Pledge of Allegiance, led by Vice Chair Laura Hine, and the National Anthem, sung by the St. Petersburg High School's Pitchforks under the direction of David Lawhead. Would you please stand for a moment of reflection and remain standing until the colors have been retired and the color guard has exited Conference Hall.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you so much to St. Pete High School's Pitchforks. What a beautiful job, and thank you to Mr. Lawhead and the entire group for that performance. Thank you. Let's give them one more round of applause. Nice job. And now I'd like to introduce today's video. 2 weeks ago, the Seminole High School Marching Band received incredible news at one of their Friday night practices. Let's take a look and learn about how their acceptance to march in the 2025 Rose Bowl parade.
They decided to film the Rose Parade. And so they fit it into these 2 quick weeks, and then we recorded it really fast and we just shot it off. The thing that was the most telling about these kids is that they understood it would be 4 to 7 years before we get in. And they thought, you know what? We're doing that, not for us, but for future generations of the Warhawk Band. Now tell me that that isn't magnanimous. And then one night I got a phone call from California. And they said, could you go on a Zoom call with us the next day? Because we just have a few more questions to ask you. I'm like, so the Zoom call goes live and I'm ready to go. And they said, thank you for joining us on the phone call. We are proud to invite you to the January 1st, 2025 Rose Parade.
That's pretty amazing news, and we are so excited to get to participate and watch how this happens in the coming years. That's so exciting. Congratulations to each one of those students. Now, our Public Information Officer, Ms. Isabella Mascarenas, will introduce our professional and community organizations in attendance this evening. Welcome.
The board, Mr. Hendrick and staff, it is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. Representing the Pinellas Educational Support Professionals Association, or PESPA, Nelly Henez, President. From the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, PCTA, Lee Bryant, President. From the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition, Maria Athanasoulis. Today, we have a presentation from the Student Rights and Responsibility Committee. Please welcome students Catherine Buckman and Alexandria Gooden from Hollins High School and their principal, Robert Florio.
Good evening, Superintendent Hendrick and School Board. Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. My name is Alexandria Gooden, and I'm the Vice President of Student Council at Hollins High School.
My name is Kate Buckman, and I am the Co-President of Student Council.
I would first like to show appreciation to Superintendent Hendrick for his support of our school, the students at Hollins High School, and the students in our district. This does not go without notice. We have both attended Hollins High all 4 years of our high school career. Us Royals know the greatness that comes with being part of such a prestigious and hardworking team. At Hollins High School, the support system from both teachers and staff is unmatched. Many students at our school utilize multiple programs ranging from Cambridge, Culinary, Academy of Entertainment Arts, business to college preparation courses like AVID. Within the last 2 years, over 309 students received their ACE Cambridge diploma awarded by the notable University of Cambridge. These high-achieving Royals spent 3 years working towards this diploma. Today, many of them applaud the academic rigor and college preparation they received, while additionally appreciating the flexibility it provided, allowing them to partake in numerous school functions. It is also essential to mention that our Hollins AVID program has hit a milestone. They have a 100% college admissions rate, successfully setting students up to meet their future academic goals.
Within our AEA program, there were 5 kids recognized for the SPC State and Digital Art Award, and back in March, we had our film students who won 4 awards, including Best Pictures for the animated film titled Offbeat Path. Following within Culinary, multiple students have competed and have placed in Skills USA for the Baking and Culinary Arts section, and ProStart for Gourmet Meal, Edible Centerpiece, and Management. Last year, we won first place in Weighted Relay ProStart and have state and regional officers for Skills USA. We have also made great strides in our robotics team. Both our robotics team made it to the state championships. One of the teams made it to the finals, while the others made it to the world championships. All throughout this, they also won the Gulf Coast League Championship Connect Award and First Tech Challenge World Championship Franklin Division Think Award finalists. In addition, our esports team also made it to the national finals and placed number 2. Adding to this, through our business department, our scholars have competed in multiple competitions for the club FBLA, where they placed in districts and states. During my 4 years at Hollins High School, I have been part of the Cambridge program and culinary program. I have succeeded in getting my ACE diploma and culinary certifications. All while doing this, I have participated in multiple clubs and activities where I have been awarded for my achievements. I really love my school because it allows me to connect with my peers and make amazing memories I will remember for my whole life, while challenging myself academically.
Our school's encouraging drive and motivating enthusiasm is something that all Hollins Royals can attest to. I feel privileged to have been able to be a Royal, and am so thankful for the many wonderful opportunities and recognitions I've received from the school. I feel better prepared socially, academically, and personally because of the experiences and education I've received at Hollins. I have a strong academic background with support from Cambridge, AP, and dual enrollment classes. I've gained leadership skills through my time in various clubs like NHS, Student Council, Ethics, and Debate. I've learned time management skills from being in 10 different on-campus organizations, and have become more involved in my community through direct volunteer programs like the on-campus food pantry, clothing closet, and truancy court. This would not have been possible without the tremendous support from my Royal peers and superiors. As a final note, the culture and care for all our students from traditional to Cambridge and anywhere in between is noticeable in every classroom, in every hallway, and from every teacher. Our school, students, staff, and faculty believe and promote that mindset matters. It's our theme. We know that if you can conceive it and believe it, that you can achieve it. Go Royals, and as Mr. Fleur would say, we'll see you at the top.
Yes, thank you so much. Wonderful presentation. Thank you to Hollins High School Principal Florio. Thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for bringing your amazing students. So thank you so much. We're going to move to the adoption of our agenda. Mr. Hendrick, are there any recommended amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, there are two. The first is item 714. It was posted for the public last Wednesday, and that is request approval of the submittal of the 2023 Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool. And the second is item 8.2, request approval of the tentative agreement with the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, or PCTA. PCTA voted last week, and their membership and employee bargaining group approved the tentative agreement. It's been ratified, and we bring it to the board tonight for approval.
Thank you very much. And are there any other recommended changes from the board? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Hendrick. As board chair, I find good cause to amend the agenda as described by Superintendent Hendrick. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? I have a motion by Mrs. Hine and a second by Ms. Meyer. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? None, and the motion carries unanimously, 6-0. I need to mention that we will let the vote reflect 6 board member vote. With that, we're going to move to the special order of agenda, starting with item 4.1. May I have a motion to approve the presentation of the proclamation recognizing Lights On After School Day on October 26th, 2023. Can I have a motion? I have a motion by Ms. Meyer and a second by Ms. Edmond. Mr. Hendrick, will you introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm pleased tonight to ask Dr. Marilyn Pettibois from our Title I office to come forward and share a little bit about our partners that help us with after-school programs and help keep those lights on for our students, keep them learning, keep them safe before school and after school. Dr. Pettibois?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. Launched in October 2000, Lights On After School is a national event celebrating after-school programs and the important role they play in the lives of children, families, and communities. The effort has become a hallmark of the after-school movement. On Thursday, October 26th, the 24th annual Lights On After School program will highlight the remarkable work being done by scholars who attend these programs. Each year, we hope to build on the past to see an even greater celebration. Our district is committed to ensuring all scholars have access to quality programs after school. Our scholars are participating in small group tutoring, online digital learning, and a variety of enrichment activities, including Battle of the Books, art, dance, coding, and STEM programs. Pinellas County Schools has continued strong partnerships in support of after-school programs in collaboration with the Juvenile Welfare Board, our club, YMCA Greater St. Petersburg, YMCA Suncoast, and the City of Dunedin. Together, these organizations work with our schools to ensure our scholars have year-round access to educational and enriching activities. Today provides us with a seamless opportunity to thank our partners. Present with us today are Nehemiah Warner, representing the Juvenile Welfare Board, Sherry Reed, our club, Julie Gowdy and Team YMCA St. Petersburg, Beth Gettig and Barbara Witt, YMCA Suncoast, and Jocelyn Broadhead, representing the city of Dunedin. In preparing a slideshow for you with some highlights of our extended learning programs, I thought about the poem Dreams by Langston Hughes. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Each time I look at the promise on the faces of these scholars, we have an opportunity to celebrate their dreams. But even more so, it emphasizes the importance of opportunities for our scholars to make important connections between the knowledge and theory learned at school and real-world experiences. This week, organizations and programs across this county and nation will join in celebrating Lights On After School. So let's continue to keep our lights on and our doors open to preserving our scholars' dreams so that they too can fly like a bird into the world that they have yet to explore. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Edmond, would you read the proclamation?
Proclamation, Lights On After School. Whereas the Pinellas County School Board stands firmly committed to quality after-school programs and opportunity because they provide safe, challenging, engaging, and fun learning experiences to help children and youth develop their social, emotional, physical, cultural, and academic skills. Support working families by ensuring their children are safe and productive after the regular school day ends. Build stronger communities by involving our students, parents, business leaders, and adult volunteers in the lives of our young people, thereby promoting positive relationships among children, youth, families, and adults. And whereas all of our community after-school programs provide significant leadership in the area of community involvement and the education and well-being of our youth, grounded in the principle that quality after-school programs are key in helping our children become successful adults. And whereas nearly 25 million families report that they would enroll their child in an after-school program if one were available. And whereas many after-school programs across the country are facing operating challenges so severe that they are being forced to consider closing their doors and turning off their lights. Now, therefore, we, the School Board of Pinellas County, does hereby enthusiastically endorse Lights On After School, the national celebration of after-school programs held this year on October 26, 2023, signed this 24th day of October 2023.
Fantastic. We have a motion on the floor to approve item 4.1, the proclamation recognizing Lights On After School Day. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? None opposed. The motion to approve item 4.1 passes unanimously, 6-0. Next, may I have a motion to approve item 4.2, the presentation of the proclamation designating the week of October 30th through November the 3rd, 2023 as Gifted and Talented Awareness Week. I have a motion by Mrs. Hine and a second by Mrs. Long. Mr. Hendrick, would you please introduce the item?
Absolutely. I'd like to call up Coral Marsh, our gifted specialist for Pinellas County Schools K-12, to share more about this item and some of the activities that will go into celebrating this week. Mrs. Marsh?
Thank you. Madam Chairperson, board members, Mr. Hendrick, and staff, we are excited to bring to you tonight our fourth proclamation for Gifted and Talented Education Awareness Week in Pinellas County. In the hall, you will see a few student-created advocacy posters from past year's celebrations. Under your leadership, our Gifted and Talented program continues to grow and transform. Today, we are currently serving over 11,000 learners identified as gifted in kindergarten through 12th grade, and an additional 4,000 talented students in elementary school. We have around 200 gifted teachers providing services. The growth we have seen in the last 5 years is a direct reflection of the initiatives the leaders in this room and others before them have supported. Here are just a few we should be extra proud of. In the past year, we screened over 6,000 students for gifted. We identified 371 students for gifted using alternative eligibility. We expanded the number of schools with talent services and doubled the number of students in our talent program. We hosted Camp Invention this summer for 600 gifted, talented, and ESOL students. And we started our 5th and final year of our Javits Gifted Education Grant Award, a highly competitive federal grant that Pinellas won back in 2019. Much of the work centers around supporting teachers to best meet the needs of their gifted and talented learners, which in turn elevates learning for all students. These initiatives continue to matter. We have changed who is identified for gifted services in Pinellas County and expanded the types of services available. Through both access and support, gifted and talented learners are being served in powerful ways. These efforts are being recognized at the national level. This November, we will have the honor of facilitating 4 sessions at the National Gifted Conference, showcasing some of the impactful work happening in Pinellas Gifted and Talented. Thank you, on behalf of our gifted and talented students and educators, for taking this time to celebrate and bring awareness to the dynamic, gifted, and talented education programs in our district.
Thank you, Mrs. March. Mrs. Meyer, would you please read the proclamation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Proclamation, Gifted and Talented Education Awareness Week 2023. Whereas, during Gifted and Talented Education Awareness Week, we will focus on better understanding gifted and talented education, learners, educators, and advocacy. And whereas, during this week, we will celebrate continued commitment to dynamic, gifted, and talented education within our district, take time to reflect on how we identify gifted students to provide all with opportunities for an equitable education, and recognize the continued impact that gifted and talented education has in our community. And whereas goals of gifted and talented education are captured in the National Association of Gifted Children's campaign called Giftedness Knows No Boundaries, which recognizes 4 goals in the identification and support of gifted children. 1, see me. All children deserve fair identification strategies. 2, understand me. Gifted and talented children need informed counselors, teachers, and parents who can help them overcome social, emotional, and psychological challenges involved in growing up. 3, teach me. Gifted and talented children have unique learning needs that set them apart from their peers, and they benefit most when they are taught by teachers trained to support them. 4, challenge me. Gifted and talented children need opportunities and curriculum that provide both support and challenge so that they can grow as learners. Whereas this effort will bring awareness to our schools, community, and around the country of our commitment to the identification, needs, and growth of our gifted and talented learners. Now, therefore, we, the Pinellas County School Board, do hereby proclaim this week, October 30th to November 3rd, 2023, Gifted and Talented Education Awareness Week in Pinellas County Schools. Signed this day, this 24th day of October, 2023.
Thank you so much. Is there any discussion from board members? I don't see any lights on. So we have a motion on the floor to approve item 4.2, the proclamation designating October 30th through November 3rd as Gifted and Talented Awareness Week. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? There are none opposed. The motion passes unanimously, 6-0. Thank you so very much. Thank you. And now we will have 2 recognition items that do not require a board vote, and the board will go down to greet and take pictures with our honorees. So Superintendent Hendrick, will you please introduce items 4.3 and 4.4? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as the board goes down for these recognitions, our first is item 4.3, a recognition of exchange teacher, Mrs. Megumi Manabe from Nagano, Japan. We're so happy to have her here with us. And as the board comes down, I'll call up our World Language Arts Specialist, Mrs. Pamela Benton, who will present Mrs. Manabe. And as she comes to the lectern, I want to just share that for 65 years, the City of Clearwater has had a sister city partnership with Nagano, and we've had a number of teachers go and be exchanged, including Mrs. Benton back in the early 90s in Japan. We're very thrilled to have Mrs. Manabe here today. I got a chance to talk with her earlier, and she's an English teacher in Japan, and I want to thank her for the gift from the mayor of Nagano to Pinellas County Schools as well. Mrs. Benton.
Thank you. Today I'm delighted to present Mrs. Megumi Manabe from Nagano City, Japan. Clearwater's sister city. Clearwater and Nagano have been sister cities since 1959. Pinellas County Schools, working with the City of Clearwater, hosts 3 exchange programs with Nagano. We currently have 5 high school students and their English teacher from Ichiritsu High School in Nagano visiting Countryside, Largo, and Palm Harbor University High Schools. The middle school exchange group will be here in February and will visit Carwise Middle. We send a high school group, a middle school group, and 2 exchange teachers to Nagano each summer. We're so pleased to get back on track after the pandemic with our exchanges. Mrs. Manabe just arrived yesterday and will visit Bay Point Elementary, Sanderlin, Osceola, Carwise Middle, Dunedin High, and St. Petersburg High for the next month. She'll be residing with local residents and visiting and observing in our K-12 classrooms until November 17th. Her visits at local schools will be coordinated by Pinellas teachers who have participated in the middle school, high school, or teacher exchanges with Nagano City in the past. Mrs. Manabe is a junior high school English teacher in Japan. She was selected by the Nagano Board of Education to represent their school system this year.
Good evening. My name is Megumi Manabe. I'm very happy to be here as an exchange teacher. Before I was married, my name was Megumi Shimizu. We usually write our name in kanji, Chinese character, and each kanji has a meaning. The kanji for my name was love, clear, water. So this must have been destiny because my name meant I love clear water. I've just moved to Nagano from another city this year, and this is my second time working in Nagano. When I was working in Nagano 9 years ago, I welcomed 2 teachers from Clearwater to my class, and my students had a great time with 2 teachers. They are now 24 years old, but they still remember the experience. So I hope that my visit will inspire the students in Clearwater to become more interested in Japan. We haven't been able to do the exchange program because of pandemic, but we hope that we'll be able to continue it now and keep this wonderful tradition going. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Benton and Mrs. Manabe, if you'll come up, we're going to take pictures with our board. Come on up. Thank you once again. Mrs. Manabe's international flight got in just after midnight last night, and she's been visiting today, so we hope you have a great couple of weeks here with us in Pinellas County Schools. And our second recognition tonight is for the 2024 Principal Achievement Award for Outstanding Leadership and the 2024 Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award. We have a video to share about the announcement of both of these, and then I'm going to ask our Chief Transformation Zone Officer, Danica Jones, and Area 4 Superintendent Michael Vigue to introduce our winners.
Hey, give a big hand to the Assistant Principal of the Year, Miss Candace Metcalf. One more time, put it together, all right.
And then I heard the Rocky theme song, and I had no idea what to think, so I'm just super shocked right now. I had no idea. So that's a huge honor, especially being at this school and getting that honor, because I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world when I come to work and I get to work with these kids, and I get to work with our staff, and our leadership is just, I think, the best in the district. So I feel like I'm really honored to be recognized because it's everybody here that makes it so easy to do our work.
Mrs. Burris, I need your help. Mrs. Burris, we are here today as the superintendent and your boss, Chief Jones, to announce to the Tyrone community that the 2023 Pinellas County Schools Principal of the Year is Linda Burris. And we have some special guests here, Mrs. Burris.
The very best special guest.
And you can go see them.
Yeah.
I better get a kiss in before you get Brindley. Congratulations. Hold on, Brindley. I'll give these to you, but I know you gotta get Brindley. Here. You got it.
Principal, you've done this before, but what does it mean to lead this school and to be named Principal of the Year?
It's just amazing. It's the teamwork that it takes in order for us to get this job done. It's from having our goals set to having great teachers, great students, expectations across the board that we can do whatever we set our mind to do. So it's just a wonderful opportunity to be able to share this with all the kids.
Good.
Yep.
And your husband, your son?
I know. My granddaughter, I saw that. Yeah, it's awesome.
Pretty excited.
Thank you.
Pretty excited. Well, we're so supportive of you and the work that you've done, and we can't think of a better person to have led this turnaround and to do the work, Linda. We're so, so grateful, and thank you. These kids, thank you more than anything.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Keep it.
Thanks. Thank you.
Hendrick and staff, I have with me Mrs. Candace Metcalf, who's prepared her 20-minute speech today.
Sure.
Not quite, but close. We'll see. Candace started her career in Hillsborough County, and she made one of the best decisions of her life. I'm sure her family's a great decision, but she jumped ship and came over here to Pinellas County. In 2019, she landed at Hollins High School. She's done a tremendous job in leadership, growing with the team, moving into the assistant principal of a curriculum role. But if there was a few qualities that probably can't be described, it's her energy and what she does to provide culture. She has a positive energy that brings a glowing atmosphere to the kids and involves with all stakeholders, whether it be students or staff or the greater community. And that's hard to do from the assistant principal role. Her support for those, particularly as it relates to advancing rigor and supporting children for college readiness and beyond, is something that cannot go unnoticed. And lastly, she gels well with the team. To follow Mr. Florio is one thing, but to work alongside him and to grow this greater community is something that we're blessed to have Candace Metcalf here. I announce her as the Assistant Principal of the Year for Pinellas County Schools.
Thank you.
No speech needed. No speech needed.
Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, it is with abundant joy on behalf of Pinellas County Schools and the Transformation Zone that we honor Principal Linda Burris as Pinellas County 2024 Teacher of the Year. You're welcome. Principal Burris walked into a school that happened to be an underperforming school, and in 1 year, she took that school by the reins and truly drove it to excellence. Her leadership is unmatched, her work ethic is unbelievable, and she has a way of galvanizing a staff to follow her to the end of the earth. We are so appreciative that she represents the Transformation Zone, but even greater than that, Pinellas County Schools. We couldn't have a better leader leading our schools in Pinellas County. It is with so much joy and gratitude that we thank you for the work that you do. And she's no newbie to this, so a little bit about her incredible principal history. Linda Burris began her employment with Pinellas County in 1996. She currently serves as the proud principal of Tyrone Middle School. She was also the executive director of middle school education from 2021 to 2022, the principal of Largo Middle from 2017 to 2021. She served as principal of Clearwater Fundamental School from 2013 to 2017, and as assistant principal at Thurgood Marshall Fundamental Middle School 2010 to 2013. She was a magnet coordinator, an exceptional student education varying exceptionality specialist at Thurgood Marshall Fundamental 2003 to 2010, and an exceptional student education teacher, which is where she learned all of her magic, at Johns Hopkins between 1996 and 2002. We are so grateful to have you represent Pinellas County Schools. Thank you.
So October is National Principals Month, and thank you, Mrs. Burris, for representing our principals as our Principal of the Year. She will compete in the statewide Principal of the Year program, and likewise, Mrs. Metcalf, congratulations. A great night to have all your royal family here with you as well. Great coincidence. Well deserved. And those big heads of you on campus and all the autographs, I don't know, we'll have to see if we can get some of those as well. So congratulations to both of you. Madam Chair, back to you.
Thank you, Superintendent Hendrick. Mrs. Houck, are there any public speakers to agenda items this evening? Yes, all right. So members of the public have 3 separate opportunities to address the board when we gather for a business meeting. The first is public comment on agenda items. The second is public hearings, most of which are policies. And the final time is after our meeting, when speakers may address the general business of the district. At each opportunity for public input, board members are here to listen to you. This is not a time for interaction, but the board will take your comments into consideration before it votes on the agenda items. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in conducting our meetings. This includes refraining from clapping or making audible noises during or after a speaker's comments. We appreciate you in assisting us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment. Lastly, please note that this meeting and all public comments will be broadcast live on the internet, and the video will be publicly archived. Members of the public may always communicate with the board through our email address, board@pcsb.org, or by calling the board office at 588-6300. Thank you, Mrs. Houck. Would you please introduce the speakers to agenda items?
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, and Mr. Hendrick. We have one speaker for agenda items this evening. Mark Clutho is speaking to items 7.7, 7.8, and 8.2.
Mark Clutho, Largo, 8.2. Yeah, that's not good. Not good. You have to look at 7.7, 7.8 to arrive at that conclusion. 7.7, $58 million. So wrong. And of course, 7.8, I've spoken about that many times. You have the building oriented the wrong way. So stupid. But, you know, the word is correlation. What happens when you do these stupid things? We have a headline here. Climate change will be a fiscal disaster. That's what will be your result when you ignore science. And then you have this headline here. Heat waves, high water, hurricanes, now what? Natural disasters can devastate learning, and schools are not ready. Well, you're building right into this scenario, ignoring science. At Clearwater and Seminole, ignoring the science of high-performance passive solar building. starting with not proper orientation. As I've said before, the Anasazi Indians knew the right way to do it over 1,500 years ago. You know, it's so sad. What happens when you do it the wrong way? You have a headline like this. Coral researchers see mass mortality amid Florida Keys bleaching crises. Cause and effect. Your legacy, it's bad.
Madam Chair, there are no other speakers for agenda items.
Thank you very much. We have no unfinished business, so we will now move to number 7, the consent agenda. May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda? I have a motion by Mrs. Long and a second by Mrs. Meyer. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye. Any opposed? There are none opposed, so it carries unanimously 6-0. Thank you very much. Moving to non-consent, may I have a motion to approve item 8.1, the request for the approval of the Focus School Software LLC for the Enterprise Resource Planning ERP Master License Agreement. Move for approval. I have a movement for approval by Ms. Edmond and a second by Mrs. Long. Superintendent Hendrick, could you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and for members of the public. You know, as a school district, we are chiefly in charge of educating our children, but we're also a very large business. And one of those is our business systems, and we are in the process. It's been about a multi-year process, I'll say, to look for a replacement for our terms system. Many of our employees know what that stands for and how it operates, but it needs to be upgraded and replaced, and we're finally in the final stages of getting there to do that. So I'd like to call up our Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Keith Masteritis, to give a little more information about this upgrade and process replacement. Mr. Masteritis?
Thank you. Madam Chair, Mr. Hendrick, school board members, and community, at the October 27th school board workshop, we discussed recommending the replacement of our old ERP, or Enterprise Resource System, with a new state-of-the-art ERP program that will engage our stakeholders with much improved efficiency. As a matter of fact, I think everybody's here to hear about the ERP. I have a feeling that that's the case. This project team consists of district leaders and subject matter experts from all key stakeholder departments, school personnel, and an external partner. This project falls under the strategic priority number 6, fiscal and operational responsibility, objective 16, providing state-of-the-art facilities, technology, and resources. In summary, the ERP is the application that handles all of our organizational business operations electronically, such as payroll, budget, accounting, procurement, as well as human resource functions related to personnel. The process started several years ago with extensive gap analysis that reviewed all the strengths and pitfalls of our current system to create the strongest and most extensive request for proposal, or RFP, possible. Our team developed a well-defined rubric based upon 100 functional objectives, such as an online portal, adherence to state and federal guidelines and reporting, employee recruiting and onboarding, and so much more, to create an in-depth scope analysis. 7 vendors applied, and along with the scope analysis, the evaluation committee contacted references and reviewed all documentation provided to narrow the field to the top 3 finalists. The committee then engaged our stakeholders through the virtual sites visits of districts currently using their application. The finalists then provided extensive solution demonstration sessions over a 3-month period for us to make the final selection. The team did an amazing job working through the selection process, and a great deal of time and energy was put into the selection to ensure the best candidate possible. The implementation timeline will take approximately 2 years, with another year working with the vendor to ensure all processes and functionality are completed successfully. The project will consist of setting up a new system, migrating all of our data, identifying any gaps or issues, testing for accuracy, and ensuring that the deliverables work and are on time. To assist with this process, we'll be running and comparing both the old and new systems at the same time to test functionality with our current way of work to ensure full implementation. We anticipate going live by October 2025 and are really excited about the final selection. And as you're aware, the committee selected Focus School software. The selection will improve interoperability or the application connectivity we so need at this point. We're currently using our Focus student information system, so they work really well together. This state-of-the-ERP program will engage our stakeholders with much greater efficiency, productivity, and reliability, and will provide the best experience possible. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Masterides. Is there any discussion from board members? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor to approve item 8.1, the approval of the Focus School Software, LLC for Enterprise Resource Planning, the master license agreement. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? There are none opposed, so the motion to approve item 8.1 carries unanimously, 6-0. Thank you so much, Mr. Masterides.
Thank you.
Next, may I have a motion to approve item 8.2, request approval of the tentative agreement with the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association. I have a motion to approve by Mrs. Meyer and a second by Mrs. Cook. Superintendent Hendrick, would you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're very excited tonight to bring this tentative agreement with the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association. I want to thank members of PCTA and their bargaining team, President Lee Bryant, who's here tonight, as well as members of the district bargaining team. Before I pass it to Mrs. Texel, who will give us all the details of the agreement, I do want to just mention that, every year as we set out on this process, we have to work within our state allocation. And this year, our teacher salary allocation increase was 1.41% from the state. And tonight, Mrs. Texel will share the raise of 4.5%, and the only way we get from 1.4 to 4.5 is to become more efficient as a district, to cut, find other places to spend those dollars, and get those out to our employees. So I want to thank Mr. Smith and his team and others across the district who all contribute to this. Nobody really needs a pat on the back, but you do have to understand that the budget that we received from Tallahassee only covered really 1.4% of this, and the district had to find other ways to meet the rest. We would have liked to have gone higher. We want to give every raise possible and maximize those things, but we also have to do so within the fiscal responsibility and possibilities that we have. So Chief of Human Resources, Paula Texel, will give us each detail of this agreement, and again, we're excited to get these out to our teachers as soon as possible. Ms. Texel?
Absolutely. Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. As everyone has expressed, I'm very excited to be here this evening as we are requesting approval of the tentative agreement with Pinellas County Classroom Teachers Association, or PCTA. I also wanted to echo a thank you to Lee Bryant, our president of PCTA, as well as Lindsay Blankenbaker, the executive director for PCTA, for their work in this process. To provide a summary, we have agreed upon an average salary increase of 4.5% for employees in the PCTA bargaining group. In addition to the increase in referendum dollars, which equated this year to $594 for each instructional staff member, and that payout already began in July, the raises for our teachers range anywhere from $1,931 to $2,060 based on their salary schedule they're on and or their evaluation rating. The teacher starting salary, I also wanted to point out, is now at $52,000, and so we are very proud of that. The board has agreed to pick up 80% of the increase in costs for health care. The employees will be picking up 20% of the increase in health care costs. I also wanted to share that with our health care, there are no plan design changes this year. We felt that was very important for continuity for our employees. We also discussed supplements for our teachers. The district also contributed an additional $337,000, which is 4.5% as well, to increase supplements to teachers who perform duties outside of their work day. For example, athletics, arts, academic activities. Any supplement also that was under $300 was raised to a minimum of $300. So we did have a few supplements out there that were on the lower end, and the committee felt it was important to raise that to $300, and we agreed with that. We also added supplements for various additional sports, such as our middle school cross country. We recognize those teachers taking on that duty need to be supplemented as well. We also have a supplement added for our elementary music teachers who provide additional work beyond their day, as well as 2 flex or optional supplements that the schools will be able to use at their discretion. The school board also covered $9.2 million increase in the required FRS contribution for all employees, as well as the board will cover the fee for all instructional employees to renew their teacher certificate with the Florida DOE. This will be for a 2-year time frame. Anyone who was submitted after June 30th of this year all the way through June 30th of 2025. As mentioned, employees represented by this bargaining group did ratify the tentative agreement last week. It passed with 92% approval, which was higher than last year's 90%, so that was great. All increases, if approved tonight, are retroactive to July 1st, 2023. And I'm so sorry, all of them are retroactive regardless. If approved today, employees will be receiving their raises and retro checks on their November 2nd paycheck. So on behalf of the superintendent's staff, we are recommending that you approve this agreement tonight with PCTA.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Textel. Is there any discussion from board members? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor to approve item 8.2, the approval of the tentative agreement with the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, and we have a second. So all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? There are none opposed. The motion to approve item 8.2 carries unanimously, 6-0. Thank you so much, Ms. Textel. Thank you. And we are going to move to item 9.1. Is there any new business from Superintendent Hendrick?
Yes, Madam Chair. A few celebrations to start with tonight. Congratulations to Dr. Jennifer Maroney, one of our occupational therapists, who this weekend was recognized by the Council for Exceptional Children at their state conference for being a statewide leadership. She received one of their prestigious awards, the Landis M. Stetler Memorial Award, for her state and national leadership. Congratulations to Dr. Maroney. And speaking of great employees, Support Employee of the Year finalists were recently announced, and we will have a celebration for them, an announcement of the Support Employee of the Year on December 1st. But I wanted to publicly recognize each of the finalists in each category. For clerical, Edie Smith-Kranz, a data management technician at Richard L. Sanders School. For classroom support, Crystal Cummings, a paraprofessional at Campbell Park Elementary School. Plan operations, Stephen Sola, plan operator at Seminole Elementary School. In our maintenance, health, and safety category, Mr. David Gonzalez. In transportation, Tammy Heineke, a bus driver at the Coachman Bus Compound. And in food nutrition, Jill Barnes, cafeteria manager. Congratulations to each of the finalists in each category. We look forward to celebrating each of the finalists and the semifinalists at the upcoming event on December 1st. This last weekend, we kicked off our Magnet and District Application Programs Fair with our large fair at Pinellas Park High School. But we have upcoming fairs. Our North County Fair will take place this Thursday, October 26th at Countryside High School, and on November 2nd at Gibbs High School, our South County Fair. Families can find resources and a video led by our Student Assignment Office about all of our 82 Magnet and Fundamental Career Academy programs on our website, and start to visit those schools for the Discovery Nights and school shadowing over the course of the next couple of months. You heard Ms. Texel just a minute ago mention adding those supplements for middle school cross country. That's because we had our first ever middle school cross country season. And congratulations to Seminole Middle School, who became the first school to win the middle school girls Pinellas County Athletic Conference Championship, and Palm Harbor Middle School, who won the boys championship. They ran at the same time as the high schools. They had a great time and celebrated the end of their first season. A reminder to families, the community, and public that we are doing our third Listen and Learn community session coming up on November 8th at 5:30 p.m. at Hollins High School, of course. Everything's Hollins tonight. We'll be there, myself, several school board members, Mrs. Kane and Mrs. Meyer, I believe, or maybe it's Mrs. Cook. Mrs. Cook and Mrs. Meyer will be there with me as we share more information about the school district and answer questions from the public. And finally, tonight's superintendent standout, as I do at each meeting, to celebrate our employees and their demonstration of core values as recognized by one of their colleagues, is a physical education assistant at Plum Elementary School, Ms. Cheryl Bowman. She's been with Pinellas County Schools for 8 years, and she was recognized by one of her colleagues for demonstrating responsibility in her work and commitment to the physical activities of each and every student. She recently created an amazing obstacle course for her VPK students that was challenging, fun, and perfect for developing their gross motor skills. Thank you, Ms. Bowman, and each and every employee for all that you do every day.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Hendrick. Are there any items to be introduced by Mr. Kapersky, the school board attorney?
There are not. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now any items to be introduced by school board members? Ms. Edmond?
I just want to share that today we received an email from Mr. Sarah regarding days in the legislature and potentially to be held on February 14th through February 15th. So if we could let them know as soon as possible who all wants to attend so they can plan, that would be great. And possibly send one email so he knows how many people from Pinellas County are coming. So I'll let Ms. Hauk know. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about was the district having a Protecting Youth Mental Health convening, which allowed for many community partners to have a conversation regarding the importance of mental health, reviewing the data from the school perspective as well as a community perspective. Children are in need of support. So if you are interested in volunteering or becoming a mentor or even whatever capacity you're interested in, finding out how you can get involved in the life of a youth, that would be greatly appreciated. So thank you, Superintendent Hendrick, Dr. Cho, and Mrs. Sicilian, and student service team for making that possible. I'm excited about what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Edmond. Mrs. Long?
Yes, I just wanted to tell you all about the mini food and nutrition conference I went to last week. It is one of the first they've had, and I have to tell you, Director Karen O, because I'm not going to try to say her last name, I'll really butcher it. It was magnificent. You know, you go to the cafeteria as a teacher or you meet your child for lunch, but to see all this, the classes they offered and the planning for the nutrition and how they all came together. There were so many sessions. I wish I could have attended a lot more. I've just realized after 43 years of cooking, I don't use a knife properly. I don't peel a banana properly. And let's see what, and I am not counting the calories properly on the nutrition scale. I mean, it was quite interesting. I learned how to dice green peppers so they look beautiful for students, because you got to entice their appearance, and then that gets children motivated to try stuff. It was remarkable, and they're going to try to start doing this annually, and know that they have to come up with their own budget, and they generate their own budget. It's just amazing what is going on in our district. I never knew some of the things that go behind the scenes, and boy, I am very impressed. I had a wonderful time, and I thank Food and Nutrition for letting me attend.
Thank you very much for sharing, Mrs. Long. Mrs. Hine?
Thank you. Good evening. I wanted to highlight something from the consent agenda that was added, that item 7.14, are approving the submittal of the 2023 Florida Safe Schools Assessment Tool. I wanted to just read one line from that document that I think is important to share. It says, "It is our conclusion that Pinellas County Schools has met all requirements as set forth in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act." That's a big deal. This statewide assessment on safe schools is quite thorough. And so the fact that our county has been found to meet all of the requirements of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act is really important. I wanted to highlight that. I also wanted to share that I had the privilege of visiting Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School a little over a week ago. They have maintained the building completely as the day when the violence occurred, and the exact condition. They're going to tear down that building within the coming year. So they invited elected officials and people who work in school safety to visit. We participated in 2 different trainings prior to the visit, and then during the visit, a detailed timeline, step-by-step walkthrough of the event that occurred. You know, as involved as I've been in school safety since even before being on the school board and then being on the district safety and security committee now, to walk that 3-story classroom building and to bear witness to what occurred was definitely powerful. I would just share 2 primary takeaways with you. One, it is real. And 2, I feel so grateful to live in Pinellas County. You know, Florida kicked into high gear when it comes to school safety after that event, and our sheriff here in Pinellas, Bob Gualtieri, was the leader of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Safety Commission. And again, you know, when someone wants to commit violence on others, they can make that happen. I can tell you that Pinellas County Schools is on the leading edge when it comes to identification, prevention, and response should something occur. So I just want to say thank you publicly to our sheriff, to our superintendent for the leadership that it takes to implement all the different measures, including going above and beyond what we're, you know, funded for those measures. Chief Williams, for you and your team, for Mike Musto and Dennis Russo, who have worked tirelessly in school safety here in Pinellas County every day. I know it is quite a responsibility to carry, and I just want to tell you that your work is seen and deeply appreciated. And then I just have one ask to make, and that's regarding communications to families. You know, it's really hard in the amount of work that we do, both at the district level and the school level. We have to every day decide what kind of information we push and then what is just passive online, right? So there's passive and active forms of communication. And if you go online and look up our school safety section, you will find information that you are looking for around what is going on in our schools regarding safety. I do think, though, that this is maybe an area where we could do a little more active communication to our families. And so whether it's at the beginning of the school year, at some point, hearing from their principals, you know, the school situation, you know, when it comes to the school hardening, and all the different physical safety aspects, and then just to be able to have a forum for any questions that people might have. I do think people could know. Because I am so involved in it and I know a lot about it, I feel confidently that we're in the strongest position we can be, even though, as I said, if somebody wants to commit violence, they will. We just have to be as prepared as we can and prevent it as much as we can. So that's just my one ask, is that we maybe do a little more active communication around that with our families. It was on the agenda tonight. Of course, we approved this, you know, increase with PCTA, and I think you guys have heard me say this before. Well, first, I'd like to thank the superintendent for pointing out that we got that 1.41% increase from the state for teacher salaries, and we're at 4.5, which I know isn't where we want to be. We want to be much higher. We want to have a fully professional wage for the best and brightest teachers, so we have the best and brightest students. I know that. But we got 1.41, and we found 4.5 through the leadership of the folks here in the room across departments by bringing district staff, putting them in schools. I mean, a number of different ways to be able to make that happen, and I'm grateful for that. And I then just want to point out what I know I've pointed out before. There's money in and money out, just like in anybody's budgets. We receive that money from the state and from the county. We have to allocate it. If anybody has an idea, well, what I would ask is that we advocate for more money in, absolutely, but on the money out part, that's the part that we right here can have some input on, and everybody in our community can have some input on. So if you look and you find places, and we have, where there can be reductions to that money out and it can go towards our teachers, I want to hear them. I know we're going to be taking a closer look at our technology budget and across the areas where we spend on different technology assets in the district. But remember, it's a large number. You have 7,000 teachers, 6,000 support employees. Or I guess we're about 14,000 total. So you want to make a raise? That's a significant amount of money, and I'm all for it. But one, we either have to find it in the money out part, or we need to advocate strongly for more money in to be able to pay our teachers and support staff not just a living wage, but a professional wage, because of the impact that they have on our children every single day. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as an agenda item too. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mrs. Hine. Thank you very much. Is there any other board members? No, I'm not seeing any more lights, so thank you all for sharing. Mrs. Woodford, would you please review the board requests? I heard 2, so.
Yes, Madam Chair. I will work with Ms. Hauk to get attendance from each of you of whether or not you're going to attend the legislative event so that we can respond with one email. And we'll look at either a workshop or possible opportunities to discuss how we're communicating school safety, especially at the beginning of the year, and how we can do more active communication. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Woodford. Is there any further business for this meeting? Anything else we needed to add? Seeing none, we will adjourn the meeting and move to public participation. So with that, this meeting is officially adjourned, and we will now move to our public comment on general business of the district. Please note that the views and comments of our public speakers are their own and not endorsed or sponsored by the school board or the Pinellas County School District. We cannot ensure the accuracy of statements made, but will review concerns raised and take appropriate action, which may include clarifications or the referral of speakers to the proper staff member for additional assistance. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in conducting our meetings, and this includes refraining from clapping or making audible noises during or after a speaker's comments in respect for their time. We appreciate you assisting us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment. Additionally, please note that although board members or Superintendent Hendrick or anyone on the dais may leave briefly, there are speakers in our back room and they will continue to be able to hear your comments throughout. Thank you. Mrs. Hauk, would you please introduce our speakers this evening?
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, we currently have 26 speakers this evening. The first 2 are Philip Belcastro and John Stewart.
Good evening, and thank you for having us. Last time I was here, I gave the names of half a dozen online programs that all have similar functions and features. The district is wasting unknown amounts of money on these, knowingly or out of negligence. Some have asked to see the receipts for these programs alongside faculty usage data reports. I have not seen these yet. For a body so beholden to data-driven decision-making, we are lacking clear data about how public dollars are funding companies like Focus, ThinkCirca, Core Connections, and McGraw-Hill StudySync, not to mention the reliability and validity of data like that which is acquired by over-tested, overextended students who spend more time in testing rooms than they do in classrooms learning the material they're being tested on. Students who say things like, "I don't even know what this test is, so I didn't try." Our progress monitoring data is unreliable at best and invalid at worst. Here's some data and dollars. The 2022-2023 budget for student transportation services was about $36.8 million. Divided by 180 instructional days, that is about $204,400 per day. Multiplied by 36 weeks, this district could save over $7.3 million a year if students used some of these online programs to work from home just 1 day a week. I did a basic attendance audit of 175 of my own students using first quarter data, and guess how many days of school they're missing a year on average? 32. They're already staying home 1 day a week. What's the point of giving every student a laptop? What's the point of having all these online programs with built-in assignments, data tracking, and accountability? We should be using them to their best advantage. Other school districts have switched to a 4-day week to save money. Some of these districts have extended the school year, but are seeing negative impacts on learning. This is not what I'm suggesting. What I am suggesting is a planning day for teachers once a week. I want to come to work. I want to grade. I want to plan lessons, arrange my classroom, clean up, make copies, collaborate with colleagues, and even hold virtual tutoring hours for my students. I just don't want to be expected to do all of them at once while also delivering instruction to 35 students at the same time. You might argue that childcare will be a problem for some families, which is likely true. And I will remind you that we are licensed professional educators with years of training, experience, and expertise, not babysitters. I will remind you that if we didn't provide free childcare on top of the job we're paid for 5 days a week, on top of our free labor, the system that relies on us would collapse. I will remind you that if we all walked off the job today, if every teacher in America said enough is enough, you would very quickly realize no online program will ever replace us. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Stewart. I'm not that John Stewart, but I did teach creative writing in Pinellas County High Schools for 37 years, first at Seminole High School, my alma mater, and then at Osceola High School. And I have a modest proposal coming from my classroom for resolving the current conflict over school books. I call it the 3 a.m. rule. Here's how it works. In my creative writing class, I required students to read a book so they could learn from the author, how the author creates character or mood, how to structure plot, and so forth. The students could choose their own book, and this is where the 3 a.m. rule comes in. Imagine for a moment that you're all my creative writing class. I tell you about the reading requirement, and then I say, I don't know the adults in your life or what standards they have about controversial topics in books. So I want you to know my approach to controversial topics. Imagine it's 3 a.m. You have a 102-degree fever and are leaning over the side of your bed, vomiting into a wastebasket. There is a hand holding your sweaty forehead. The person attached to that hand has ultimate say over what you read. I don't. I can't interview all 30 of you to find out what your parents or guardians think about controversial topics in books. My parents never tried to control what I read, so it wasn't an issue for me. But if your parents want to restrict what you read, I am putting the responsibility on you. There are many books without controversial topics that you can read. If an adult in your life calls to complain about the book you are reading, I will explain the 3 a.m. rule, tell them you didn't do your part of what you were supposed to do, and then ask them to choose a book. Now, that's how the 3 a.m. rule works. If adults want to raise young people with expansive viewpoints and open hearts, who see the world through the eyes of people who are not like them, they can encourage young people, their children or their stepchildren, they can encourage young people to read the books that promote that view. If they want to raise citizens who respect everyone's rights, or people of faith who show love and compassion to all, they can promote books that will shape and encourage those values. If, however, adults don't want to raise young people like that, they can prevent their kids from reading those books. Their kids. When I was a teacher, and now, I have enormous respect for the difficult job parents and guardians do. It wasn't my hand holding that sweaty forehead at 3 a.m. I urge you to adopt a policy similar to the 3 a.m. rule, because you know what? It isn't your hand either. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Aunt Avila and Nancy Velarde.
Good evening. My name is Aunt Avila, and I want to thank you for your time tonight. Thank you also to Board Member Edmond for checking in with me both last meeting and today about the process that she says is underway for written LGBTQ guidelines in district. This is promising, and we hope to see those guidelines released with absolute haste. Students are currently being harmed every day without these guidelines. The safe spaces that the LGBTQ students relied on for their life-saving affirmation and support have been destroyed. The systems that allow teachers and staff to support and affirm have been dismantled. But there is something you can do. There is something nearly a dozen other districts have done, and this is providing clear written guidance. This responsibility to lead a district that protects every student and respects every family extends to protecting every teacher and staff member. I'm here to ask you what your plans are to protect the teachers and staff facing harassment and bullying because of their identities or their support of LGBTQ students. Your students and your teachers are being harmed, and it is your responsibility to do something. I'm asking you what that will be. Thank you.
Good evening. I've been hearing some disturbing things from members of PCTA. They still talk to me. The contract is being violated by principals at a much higher rate than usual. Is our district treating the union as though they're already gone because they've been threatened by unconstitutional laws from the state? Keep in mind that the union is simply the voice of your employees, not an entity detached from the daily operation of your schools. These overt dismissals of long-held contractual agreements indicate how the teachers will be treated if the union and contract are no longer in operation. Is this the message you wish to send your employees? The former administration here in PCS hired individuals specifically to restrict the union's ability to properly represent your employees. I believed that the current leadership would make appropriate changes to this policy, but it has worsened. These individuals are still employed here, which is fine, but they've not been restrained in any way. It appears they're encouraged to continue subverting the wishes of the employees. Union leaders are being targeted inappropriately by some of these individuals who should be concerned with the welfare of their employees, rather than the destruction of their representative voice. If you're concerned about the teacher shortage now, and you should be, I guarantee it will become far worse if there is no union or contract. I would never have worked in a district without a union to speak for me at the bargaining table or during a representation. Secondly, I think the district needs to take a stronger opposition to the extremist influences that have been dominating policy here for too long. These past 2 weeks should clearly have demonstrated to all the dangers of extremist ideologies taking control of a government. It always begins with threats, limitations of freedoms, and deteriorates into horrific violence. Our precious democracy is not immune to these very serious dangers, and educational leadership should be doing everything possible to resist these influences. Education is the foundation of democracy and is a prime target of these dangerous individuals because an uneducated populace is their strongest weapon. America's the land of the free and the home of the brave. There's nothing brave about a country that cannot look honestly at its past and admit the horrible mistakes that were made. We cannot become great again if we are unable to take stock of ourselves and teach the lessons that we've learned to our children. Focus on being an honest educational institution and be true supporters of your educator's voice.
The next two speakers are Mark Clutho and Brennan Pickett.
Mark Clutho, Largo. Well, I heard it again. We have the young children's. They're learning about the environment and what we need to do for the future. Well, right now, $58 million to make another stupid school. It's you that have to take the action. Here, this one takes the cake. Here's Governor Ron DeFeur getting a sword from the Moms for Stupidity. You know, he should get some nunchucks to go with that, don't you think? Oh boy, I'll tell you. How sick is that? You know, as I said before, we have mass mortality of the coral. We're going to have a climate change that's going to be a fiscal disaster. Yeah, and U.S. sets a record for billion-dollar weather disasters. Yeah, the children's can't do anything about that. Hurricane shatters, weather rules. And then here's this headline: World's amphibians risk being climate captives. Study, they can't flee warming temperatures. Again, the word's correlation. Correlation, you make the stupid buildings that belch the carbon, and they die. And then here's this headline: Atlantic hurricanes are intensifying faster, study says. A satellite image of Hurricane Maria. Rapid onset hurricanes are the forecaster's nightmare. Yeah. It's going to be scary. Very, very scary. And as I've said before many times, Winston Churchill told you, we shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. That was 1960. You just don't listen to science. High performance passive solar buildings.
Hi. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for ratifying the agreement that PCTA has put together. 4.5% is the largest raise I've ever seen, and it is the largest raise I believe this district has seen in at least 10 years. So thank you. And I heard you guys talking about how, you had to find that money from what the state has given us. And I just want to remind you guys and everyone in the room actually that unions help you find that money. And the PCTA did help you find that money, and it's great. I'm happy we were able to come to an agreement, and I'm happy to be a part of this district for that reason. My second thing is what I'm really here for is I have a colleague at my school. I'm sure they're going to come up here and speak. They are trans, and they have been receiving harassment, and people have been showing up to their home. Their car was broken into. They've been getting calls, pizzas sent to their house with, just basic harassment. And recently, I was informed that they were asking to be shielded. And I understand this is usually saved for, military personnel and firefighters, police, all that, right? However, the problem is that the law has made it so these people are being targeted by extremist groups all over the state. And I want to know what the district is going to do to help protect these teachers. Also our students, of course, but when you are a public employee, people find out you're trans, people find out you're gay, they're going to be targeted, they're going to be harassed, and we need to have guidelines in place to protect their data. I would really hate to see more educators leave this field because they can't be who they are. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Kuiper and Julian Fuller.
Good evening, and thank you so much for your time. My name is Kuiper, and I'm a transgender student at St. Petersburg High School and president of our Gender and Sexuality Alliance Club. Tonight, I speak for every queer student I know, and quite possibly every queer student in the district, when I say that I am afraid. I am afraid for my safety, and I am afraid for the safety of my peers. But more than afraid, I am devastated that I or that anyone has to feel this way. Devastated that we are seemingly moving backwards in time, banning teachers from asking and using their students' preferred pronouns, devastated that we are requiring needlessly complex and elusive forms just for students to be called the names they want to be called, devastated that teachers are at risk of losing their jobs simply for using one word instead of another to refer to their students, devastated that teachers are outright banned from talking about queer topics in a state with a total LGBTQ population of 886,000 people, This is my last year as a student, and in the past 12 years, I have never seen such rampant displays of bigotry being enabled, much less enforced. But what truly sickens me is that I have never seen a single queer student behave in a way that warrants such oppressive, hateful laws. Never seen any evidence that giving students the space to explore their identities hurts anyone. But firsthand, I have seen that attempting to ban students from that creates a level of damage and fear that I don't think a single person at the forefront of these laws could ever understand, or much less have the right to ban. The role of a school board member is to act as a vessel for change. I ask each of you, is this the change you want to see? This needless fear-mongering, this pointless harming of students who want nothing more than to be respected in an environment that is supposed to make them feel safe. Is this what you want to be an advocate for? Is this why you became involved in your local government, to perpetuate needlessly hostile, distressing environments for students in Pinellas County, to act instead as a vessel for systemic bigotry and hatred? I ask that each and every one of you truly takes a moment to contemplate if the environment our state and local laws are creating for students is one you're happy with. To contemplate how you can and should use your position to be an advocate for the betterment of our county and for all of Florida. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm a senior at St. Petersburg High School. My name is Julian, but at the beginning of this year, you would have known me as Jordan. With the new laws in place banning teachers from addressing students by anything other than their formal legal name without written parental consent, at the beginning of the 2023 school year, my name was back to Jordan, despite my teachers knowing me as Julian for the past 2 years. My teachers were made to call me Jordan, a name they barely knew me by, in fear of losing their jobs. Along with the stress of starting my senior year, I was uncomfortable and I was scared. I dreaded going to school, and I couldn't connect with any of my new teachers. My new friends and classmates learned a name that I wasn't comfortable with them knowing. Thankfully, after finding the parental consent forms that were virtually impossible to find weeks into the school year, my guardian gave me consent to go by my name again. It took even longer for my name to be put on my record in the system, even more time passing before my teachers could even acknowledge that I went by something else. Some teachers this year still don't call me Julian, either because it took so long to track down the papers to change it that they don't remember, or they are still in fear of losing their job. This law creates so many uncomfortable, dangerous situations for transgender children in the state of Florida. So many transgender students don't have the safety to ask their parents if they can go by their preferred name in school. Beyond that, this is a waste of time, energy, and school resources. It is completely unnecessary. I exist in fear every single day. The least I can be given is the guarantee to be called by my correct names and pronouns by school officials that I'm supposed to trust. It isn't fair to me, and it isn't fair to my teachers. I deserve respect as much as any other students who chooses to go by their legal name. All transgender students in Florida deserve that same amount of respect. I stand here today with a group of fellow LGBTQ+ students that go to my school. With that, I ask you, is this how we should be using our school resources? Another attack on LGBTQ+ children? Is putting us in unnecessary fear and potential danger fair? What did we do for these laws to target us? Why can't I choose what name I want to go by? I am a person. I should not have to ask permission to be respected. I'm not an object. I shouldn't have to ask permission to be called a name. Think on the environment that transgender children in Florida schools are being forced into. It's unnecessary and a completely avoidable harm. Transgender students in Florida, including myself, are, now more than ever, begging for change. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Sarah Peacock and Carol McNamee.
As students and staff in our county are currently operating in a harmful and unfriendly climate of fear, I'm here to ask that you stand up and support them. I have basically the same message as Aunt Avila. I don't think that I could possibly say it better than he did or with more emotion. So I will just reiterate that our neighbors in Hillsborough have already provided this guidance. You campaigned to be here. You spent months begging people to trust you with our children, and you spent months convincing us that you are worthy of protecting them. So do it. Do the thing that you wanted to do and protect the kids from people who do not care about them. I'm also here to remind you about HB 49. Linda Cheney from our lovely county has put forward a bill that would repeal child labor laws. She is in her district until the beginning of November, and I would encourage you to take an official position in opposition to this bill. And I would encourage you and the general public to lobby her not to do the terrible thing she's doing by making 16 and 17-year-olds able to work full-time and overnight like 18-year-olds. So if you could, like, be nice to the kids, that'd be great. Thanks.
Good evening. I spoke a couple of weeks ago about the change in the social studies requirements from the state on Black history. And I just want to report to you that just for kicks and grins, I was looking at the Prager University Facebook page where there was, quote, a historian, I'm saying quote, and he was using Frederick Douglass, of all people, to make his point that Frederick Douglass was obviously really for the Constitution and really for everything that they said. They said nothing about all the rest of the stuff that Frederick Douglass said. So I thought, well, I think I'm going to reply to this. So I said, I believe that you are looking at this history through a white lens. And this isn't all that Frederick Douglass said, and I said some more things to prove my point. They were so, they came back and answered me, of all things, and the gentleman said he wanted to prove to me about how it was not a white lens, and they had tremendous laughter about that. They really thought that was funny that I said that they were looking through a white lens, because after all, he was Filipino and something else and something else. He was trying to point out that because he had these many backgrounds in his ancestry, that he was not possibly looking through a white lens. And so, of course, I didn't bother with it. But I remember that Superintendent Kevin said that he was not going to adopt Prager. I hope he sticks with it. I hope the rest of you stick with it. And I'm going to stay on it over and over. And by the way, I want you to know that when I spoke about that, that change in that requirement that talked about the slaves having learned skills that helped them, when I walked away from this thing, there was a person in that group of people from Moms for Liberty who said to me, why don't you go teach Marxism? And I thought to myself, you don't even know what Marxism is if you said that. And the other one with him started attacking me. So I just want everyone to know, and I'm going to keep bringing it up, bringing it up, bringing it up. These people are dangerous. And just as these young people here pointed out how fearful they are because they are being targeted, that is outrageous. We are definitely in a, I used to say, pre-fascist thing. We're not pre anymore. Not P-R-E, not.
The next two speakers are Billy Bronca and Lindsay Sparrow.
Good afternoon, board. Thank you for having us today. My name is Lindsay Sparrow. I work with LGBTQ youth and primarily trans and gender expansive youth here in Pinellas County. I also do work in Hillsborough counties as well. It's important for you to know that right now, youth are in crisis. By every single definition that I have been taught, in my professional opinion, in my work over the years, youth are in crisis. Trans youth, queer youth are in crisis right now. They are not receiving mental health care and support, and they are being targeted not just by teachers, but by the entire system that y'all are continuing to uphold without putting out a proclamation for safety right now. Within the multiple groups and youth that I lead, like, over the last few months, every single week, I have had students come to me reporting bullying, not just from teachers, but from their peers, because it's being encouraged, because this poison of assuming that's okay to treat people differently just for wanting to be who they are is seeping down into their peers. They are literally coming to me with bruises on their bodies from experiencing violence. Education is a foundation of our communities. When our schools aren't a safe third place for admin, teachers, students, our societies will suffer. When schools don't respect and demand respect for their queer teachers, their students, the parents and families outside are not going to show respect either. You need to be the ones who demand respect for your teachers. You have to demand respect for your students. It has to start here. There are multiple teachers, as you've already heard from, and I'm sure you will hear from more, right now in your county experiencing harassment. What are you going to do about it? When did we decide that fear was more important than education, safety, and growing the next generation? Why are you living in fear? You should be bothered at the unrest and in this room right here, right now, and beyond these doors. You should be bothered that there are so many people coming up here right now and telling you about this problem. Today, I call on you to publicly declare your support for queer students and teachers in your county. This public declaration is necessary in order to ensure continued diversity in our communities and educational systems. Queer students need to know that you have their backs as they grow through some of the toughest parts of young adulthood. I'm here pleading with you because I want my students to survive. I want my youth to survive. And honestly, it's looking less likely day by day. I want my kids to live, and I need your support in that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Billy. I'm a transmasculine and non-binary person. I also work with trans youth in our community, and I'm going to also be using my time to ask you to complete and release guidelines against the harassment of your LGBTQ students and teachers, codifying a standard of respect in Pinellas County Schools. I was once a queer kid, and I have lots to say about that, but today I would rather focus my time on talking about when I was a queer teacher with Pinellas County Schools, a role that I loved, but ended up leaving because of what it was like to be a queer person working in our district. I have to say that's really a shame because you guys are hemorrhaging teachers, and you really can't afford to lose any more of us. Working for PCS, I felt like I was drowning in transphobia and homophobia. I could hardly process the traumas on top of all the other processing that we already do as teachers and in such a segregated and underfunded and understaffed and critically unrepentant district. And meanwhile, my queer students were navigating the same broken system. And I was still teaching them, and they were still learning, and I was performing this impossible task at the highest stakes in the most dire conditions, and so were they. And at the same time, I was also trying not to pee at work because there wasn't a bathroom for me there. I was hearing about the complaint that another educator made about me, what was called his issue. It was my suspected homosexuality. I was fending off the advances of my colleagues and mentors, particularly while I was at Lellman Innovation Academy, one of whom even told me about the sex that he imagined me having with a younger teacher. I won't tell you about the text that I got. I was being threatened with legal action by district leadership because I didn't squash my students' petition calling for us to stop quietly purging genderqueer by Maya Kobabe from our libraries. I was watching as my school, Lakewood High School, somehow managed to block every single event, movie night, and even poster our GSA tried to put together for an entire school year. At the time I was working for PCS, I was moving through the tension and discomfort of reconciling my need to be myself with the feeling that doing so would cost me my entire life, and it did. I'm not a teacher anymore because I cannot be a teacher here. My students were also experiencing these injustices. I am an adult with agency and a support network and a sense of my own value. They are experiencing this tenfold and usually without anybody in their corner. Imagine the sorrow that my kids walked through today at school. Imagine the sorrow that your kids walked through today at school, tried to pay attention to and tried to stay safe through. Imagine the sorrow that they will return to tomorrow. At the end of it all, we just want to live our lives and teach and learn, and you're a body that is capable of condoning and condemning the violence happening in your district. Right now, your silence is condoning it. I ask that you consider when the history books look back on this rise of fascism and
The next two speakers are Lee Bryant and Nellie Henyas.
Good evening, Chair Kane, members of the school board, Superintendent Hendrick, and staff. My name is Lee Bryant. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I am the president of PCTA. I am also a veteran, the son of a career Army and Air Force veteran, and a cancer survivor. One of the things I've learned over the years is that when facing difficulties in life, you need to have support. And the first step in finding support is realizing you need support. The military has long realized that its combat veterans need additional support, but so do the spouses of deployed troops. They must be able to come together and support one another. Cancer patients need the extra support of people that are going through the same treatments and the support of people that have already gone through it. People of any color, any gender, of any age that are the victims of abuse need to know that they are not the only ones that are going through their struggles and that there is support for them when they realize they need it. Our LGBTQ plus students who are just beginning to realize who they are need to know that they are not alone in their efforts to realize their own true self. And they need to know that there is help for them along the way. Our LGBTQ plus educators need the support of our schools and our community, and they need clear guidance from the school board and the assurance that they will be supported. Our society has made great leaps forward in recent decades, realizing that a whole, complete, and compassionate culture needs to accept one another as who they truly are and where in life they may find themselves. However, in recent years, in the state of Florida, too many people are feeling like they are being marginalized. Their history is being diminished and their stories pulled from the bookshelves and hidden away. And slavery did not benefit black people. Our LGBTQ plus students and educators do not feel safe and welcomed as they did just a few short years ago. Our LGBTQ plus students are increasingly being picked on by other students and are not welcomed by our society. Our LGBTQ plus educators are being diminished, harassed, and threatened just for being who they are. It is time for this to stop, and the next step needs to come from our school board with clear protections laid out for all to follow. And finally, I'd like to thank the bargaining team for the county and my bargaining team for the agreement that we came to. Thank you very much for your work.
Good evening. I just want to say congratulations to PCTA, the instructional, for the tentative agreement. And it's kind of nice they're going to make at least starting $52,000 a year when you got your support professionals making $22,000 a year. So it's kind of nice for them, but not for us when you got the minimum housing you can get is $2,000, and when you're bringing home $800 per paycheck, you cannot pay your rents or your bills and put food on the table. So it would be nice too if we can have at least starting wages at $32,000. So at least we can start having a decent living wage. Just remember, we do not get referendum. So we just not have that in our salary. So I hope you guys make a good look at it in your budget and keep looking to see at least educational support professional can make a living wage, just like the instructional doing. And thank you so much. That's all I want to say.
The next two speakers are Tracy McConnell and Betsy Braden.
Hi, my name is Tracy McConnell, and I teach third grade at Pinellas Central Elementary School, and I'm here today to advocate for my students. As you guys all know, in elementary school, especially if you have taught elementary school, you get kids that come to you at all different levels, right? In third grade, I have kids that come to me that are reading at a beginning kindergarten level, and then I also have some students that are up at the beginning of fourth grade. And it's my job as a teacher to not only give interventions for kids that are lacking in their instruction when they get there, and also provide enrichment. And we give all kinds of tests, right? And then we look at all that data and we figure out who needs what and what kind of intervention or enrichment I'm going to provide. So this year, whenever at my school, we do this thing for our reading intervention called a walk to intervention, where different teachers focus on different skills that we want to work on, and then for that 30 minutes, some kids go to this teacher, some kids go to this teacher, and then we all work on that same skill. Well, this year, when we went in to do that, we found that we are lacking materials to do that. And the reason for that is because last year we could go into News ELA and we could pull articles. We could get articles from ReadWorks. None of that is available to us anymore because they're saying that it could be controversial material. What I am asking is, I'm not opening this up for students for self-selection, right? I'm going in as an educator and I am reading articles and I am deciding what material that I want to use for my students. I am asking to be trusted as an educator to use things that are appropriate for my students. I need to have access to materials, otherwise I'm going to be really struggling to provide the enrichment or the scaffolding that I need for those students that are lower levels. News ELA, like for last year, if I have students that are struggling in reading, I could look up an article. You know what? Kids love bugs, right? That's a high interest article. So I could find an article about people cooking with bugs and then look at it at different levels, and then I would have it for multiple levels for students. I don't have access to that material now because you guys are concerned that I'm going to use controversial materials. Please consider allowing us to still use that. None of us are trying to provide students with materials that are not appropriate. We need to have access to teach. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Betsy Braden. Both of my kids went to Florida public schools. One is at Florida State. The other one, who is trans, was at New College until the governor destroyed the school. She's now a political refugee going to school at Hampshire College. The educational environment in Florida is so bad that the United Nations invited Florida students and teachers last week to explain book and curriculum bans and attacks on the LGBTQ community by the Florida legislature. Hillsborough County Schools, that's where I live in Hillsborough. Hillsborough County Schools accepted the LGBTQ guidelines. When will you? Since you have not provided these guidelines, I see a lot of angst, discrimination, and unnecessary fallout from the speakers today. I can see the differences between the counties and the speakers who speak. I have just listened to several in the LGBT community in this meeting that are pleading with you to do something. To help the LGBT community, Pinellas County Schools needs to move forward and release the LGBTQ guidelines. These guidelines outline for students, families, and educators the crucial information they need to be able to best support students within the draconian laws that have been passed in Florida. A supportive campus community can mean the difference between life and death for LGBTQ students. Those who say their schools are LGBTQ affirming are less likely to attempt suicide. Educators can help LGBTQ students feel supported by understanding the law, use inclusive language, addressing harmful comments, and amplifying their voices. LGBTQ youth who live in accepting communities are more likely to want to live. More than 1 in 5 LGBTQ youth living in unaccepting communities, could be this one, attempted suicide in 2022, compared to 8% in accepting communities. These students deserve their First and 14th Amendment rights and deserve to live safely.
The next two speakers are Lucia Gasque-Carroll and Donna Grace.
Good evening, school board members. First of all, thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts with you today. My name is Lucia Gascu Carroll. I live in Dunedin, and I'm here today to talk about LGBTQ plus policies and guidelines for our school district, as many others. At the last school board meeting, I shared my own experience as a mom of a non-binary 7-year-old, and the fact that I have been waiting for answers for how the new laws are implemented in our schools. I have since then spoken to several administrators and superintendents, and I was very alarmed at the fact that one of them said that according to the school board lawyers, teachers and staff cannot use preferred pronouns. House Bill 1069 states that educational institutions cannot require teachers and staff to use preferred pronouns, but it does not state that they cannot use affirmed pronouns. This right here is a clear example why guidelines and policies are needed. These laws are too broad and confusing, and this administrator's misinterpretation is evidence of this. Even if there's no ill intention, this is causing students, teachers, and staff's rights to be violated. I am here tonight to ask you to create much-needed policies and guidelines for LGBTQ+ students, teachers, and staff, and to not ignore the rights given to us by the Constitution, by the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, and by Florida's Parental Bill of Rights. As my family and I haven't received any response from the school or the board regarding policies that will ensure that my kids' rights are respected, we made the hard decision to leave the public school system and enroll them in a setting that is affirming. It's been amazing to see my child flourish in this new environment. They are once again happy to go to school and engaged in learning, and their self-confidence have improved so much as they don't have to deal with bullying from teachers and peers. Just by simple acts like teachers respecting their preferred pronouns and having access to gender-neutral bathrooms. That's all it took. We all know that not all families have this option. Public schools should be welcoming to every family and child, no matter the background, their values or beliefs. Public schools should be safe for everybody, and right now they are not. Again, I urge you to work on these much-needed policies and guidelines to prevent confusion, violation of rights, harassment, and make our school welcoming to all of us. Again, thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Donna Grace, and thank you for letting me talk. I've worked in the education system for many years, most of them as a middle school counselor. Education issues really get my attention, and lately I've heard the name Moms for Liberty coming up a lot. I've been appalled at what they stand for related to our schools, and I find it even more horrific that we have 2 school board members affiliated with Moms for Liberty. Here's what I don't like. When school board members talk about a teacher on Facebook, they carry some clout. They have their comments that are noticed by a lot of people. This is from the Tampa Bay Times, June 21st this year. As candidates, Don Peters and Stephanie Meyer made no secret of their disdain for teachers who, in their view, advanced a liberal agenda in the classroom. They often focused on Dunedin High's Brant Robinson, who has gained a high profile by making daily TikTok videos on his views. So I don't like that school board members are writing about teachers on social media. They have a superintendent, and they have the teacher's principal to air their disdain. This sounds so juvenile to me. This is bad. Criticizing a person is easy. Typing away on Facebook, no evidence required. The article goes on. After their election to the board in November, Peters and Meyer continued to criticize Robinson on social media, particularly on the private Moms for Liberty Pinellas chapter page. There they have liked comments calling him a creeper and a predator. No evidence, no proof, just 2 school board members calling one of their teachers a creeper and predator. Not professional at all. This is bad. There is a written school board policy that says harassment and abuse of teachers will not be tolerated. It includes school board members. There's a written procedure for how to go about complaining about a teacher, and it doesn't include social media. This is bad. Moms for Liberty advocates for the removal of the liberal indoctrination of students. But their idea of liberal seems to be the truth. The teaching is not indoctrination. Teachers aren't trying to make students think a certain way. They are showing them how to think, how to make up their own minds. Moms for Liberty is a dangerous group to have in our schools. Unfortunately, we already have 2 on our board already. We need to be vigilant in next year's election to make sure we get people on the board who will advocate for students and for thinking and knowledge. That would be good. And about these 2 harassers on the board, Superintendent Hendrick, I hope you have plans to address their behavior if you haven't already. Thank you.
The next 2 speakers are Anna Margiotta and Wendy Vernon.
I'm Dr. Anna Margiotta. I'm a Pinellas County native. I went to public elementary, middle, and high school in this county. I got one of my 3 degrees from the University of South Florida. I grew up here, and I should get to exist here. I am being targeted by bigots. I am being harassed through the phone. Things have been sent to my home address. Someone came to my house where my family lives and vandalized my car, all since our last 5 p.m. school board meeting. The Moms for Liberty are known for doxing people. People they have doxed have experienced worse than I have so far. I am afraid more will happen to me after this meeting because of the like-minded peers of Stephanie Meyer, Don Peters, and Angela Duba. The Southern Poverty Law Center has designated the Moms for Liberty as an anti-government extremist group. I feel comfortable calling them a hate group. I'm asking the board to disavow the Moms for Liberty. I'm also asking you to take action to protect trans teachers and students from House Bill 1069 and from public harassment. I haven't seen you take any action to specifically protect or support trans people. Do something. I experience gender discrimination and discrimination based on disability in my workplace daily. I'm a transgender non-binary person and I use they, them pronouns. I'm diagnosed with gender dysphoria. With the support of doctors and mental health experts, I have had both hormone replacement therapy and gender-affirming surgeries as treatments. My treatment for gender dysphoria also includes social affirmation through the adoption of pronouns, names, and gender expression that match my gender identity. U.S. courts have ruled that gender dysphoria is included as a disability covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act. My treatment for my disability is being denied from me while I am in my workplace because of House Bill 1069. I think federal civil rights law prohibiting discrimination is being broken because I cannot disclose my pronouns while I am at school. This is also gender discrimination because my cisgender peers are allowed to tell their students their pronouns, but my transgender peers cannot. Medicine is on my side. Psychological attempts to force transgender people to be cisgender are medically unethical and linked to adverse mental health outcomes. Trans people exist. I see 3 options for you. You can work towards supporting our lives, you can stand by and watch, or you can add fuel to the distressingly high suicide attempt rate among transgender people, among transgender children. You can pick. The next time I come to a school board meeting, I'd like to spend my time offering ways you can improve equitable learning for students in this county, as that is what my doctorate qualifies me to do. I would like to feel safe and protected in this county, as I'd like to feel safe and protected and focus discourse on education. I'd like to be simply respected and never have to talk about pronouns again, but until then, I must.
I'm Wendy Vernon. I'm here tonight also to speak on LGBTQ+ guidelines, and everything I wrote means nothing compared to what this teacher just shared. This is why we're here. This is what's going on. This is what's being emboldened by hate groups like Moms for Liberty, and the fact that you have school board members, and one of them in particular that's here today that's looking down, smirking. I hope that maybe on the positive side, she's over there writing notes of how she can be of service to all teachers and all students. But that's not what I see when I see her face in these meetings. It's blowing my mind, the disrespect. I see everybody's paying attention the whole time and listening to all these speakers, and yet there's just one that doesn't seem interested. Anyhow, what I was gonna say is I'm a parent of 3 kids that have collectively attended public schools in Pinellas County for the past 16 years. This is only the 2nd time that I've come to speak at a school board meeting. But until all children are protected and all families respected, I will be back again and again and again. Not just the students and families, but what about respect and support for our valued teachers? All teachers should feel safe and welcome to teach in their schools. What protections and guidelines are in place to protect teachers that are LGBTQ+, especially our teachers that are gender expansive? Or what about the teachers that are supportive of our LGBTQ+ students? There's a group, which I've already mentioned, Moms for Liberty, that is doxing and harassing teachers in our county. This is especially concerning because 2 of our school board members were endorsed by this anti-trans hate group. This is a toxic and dangerous pattern, as this is not the first time this group's hateful rhetoric has emboldened people to harass teachers that don't subscribe to this group's religious and political beliefs. What guidelines are in place to protect these teachers? Teachers should be respected and supported to do the job they were hired to do. Respect applies to all teachers and should not discriminate by what the teacher looks like, how they identify, or who they love. I'm here tonight because we have been asking for policies, clear written guidelines as to how LGBTQ+ teachers will be supported, protected, and respected. Thank you.
The next 2 speakers are Jean-Marie Leon and Julie Russell.
My name is Jean-Marie Leon, and I'm the founder of the JEDA Project. I'm a disabled veteran and a retired IT manager. I've lived in Pinellas County for 25 years, and I'm the father of 4 children. All my children attended Pinellas County Schools. My son is currently at Thurgood Marshall. I'm concerned about our school future. I could have started by reading from the Bible and promptly ask you to ban it from our school system due to profanity, violence, incest, slavery, and drinking. But I'm here to advocate for the right to everyone to explore ideas and concepts as best suited for them. My son needs to explore and discover humanity's difference and its nuances should not be infringed on by liberty just because an alleged mom can parent her way out of debating history and social issues with a child. It's ironic how the meaning of indoctrination changed. It's okay and accepted to learn white male history. It's called learning. The moment we bring up contents of books like Uncle Tom's Cabin, Killers of the Flower Moon, or Fun Home, it's indoctrination. I don't think it's fair for an employee to work in an environment where they are not guided by written policies and procedures in every aspect of their job. I don't even think it's illegal for an employer not to give its employee proper guidance regarding laws while performing their duties. Whether it's a matter of legality, fairness, or justice, we can all agree by now that the guidance for them is necessary. For the protection of LGBTQ+ employees and students, that is overdue. The school board has a strict anti-bullying policy, yet we have elected officials, moms who claim to be for liberty, and anybody running for office without a plan, picking on every minority in existence. Whether it's black people, Jews, Muslim, women, or immigrants, and if they're a member of the LGBTQ+ community, they are hit twice. When are you good people going to say enough? I was sought to stand up and protect those who are being bullied and are voiceless, which is why I started my activism. I believe that it is your job to give equal protection to everyone within the school system. It's not a majority rule, it's based on the need of the one. We are all equal in the public school system. The Supreme Court settled this, and a child led us to its application. You can surely do better than a child. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm changing a little bit what I want to say after hearing the stories that we've heard tonight. I know that the district prides itself, because I've heard you talk about it a lot, about the positive climate that it is to work in Pinellas County Schools. And I've been watching you listen to these stories, and I'm wondering, are you surprised by what you're hearing? Are you shocked? Are you dismayed? Has it even occurred to you to find out that these stories are out there, that this is happening to students, that it's happening to staff? In addition to the policies and the guidelines that are being asked for, are you seeking out this information? What does your staff want? What does your LGBTQ staff want? What do families want? What do communities want? It's fine to have these policies and guidelines, but are you seeking that information from the people that it impacts the most? LGBTQ teachers are often usually the best advocates for those LGBTQ students that are in our schools, and a life can be saved by having just one visibly supportive staff member in their school. Promoting a safe and welcoming and fair environment for LGBTQ staff enables those educators to be critical and positive representations that LGBTQ students need, and helps your staff be fantastic educators. So I hope you take that into consideration and start seeking out that information. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Janet Cunningham and Shannon Vincent.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Janet Cunningham, and I work at Calvin Hunsinger School. Thank you to Ms. Edmonds for coming to see the school recently, and I look forward to having Ms. Long come and visit as well. I come to you tonight not with my normal mantra of making sure that our support personnel are taken care of, but I come here tonight with a possible solution for a problem that we have at our school. Our school is now a blend of reassigned and Calvin Hunsinger traditional ESE students. I work in the high school where I have 4 grade levels and 6 classes I teach. I am also an ESE teacher. It is very difficult to provide specially designed instruction when you're teaching bell-to-bell a gen ed class. I know I met with Ms. Long about 2 years ago concerning the difficulty in being able to track, assess, and be able to provide services for our most needy ESE kids. I have tried over the last 2 years to get specific software that is available within the district to be able to be used on approximately 25 students at Calvin Hunsinger School. I come here tonight to ask you to look into getting IXL to cover licenses for approximately 25 students so that the case managers are able to adequately assess and provide SDI instruction and follow and track that instruction. This does not seem to be a big ask for the students that are put in a center, now called a school, with multiple reassigned students that are also there. We're trying our best to provide what they need, and the software is out there. When I have asked for this software, I have received software on administrative rights. The problem with this is I'm not able to continue to track different students throughout their progression of their ESE goals and their skills. Providing this to the case managers in high school specifically will allow the high school teachers who do a dual role of being a case manager and are also asked to provide specially designed instruction to be able to do this successfully. I asked the members who have never been to my school to come to see what we do. It's pretty amazing. It is a very difficult job with very violent and volatile children. Please give us what we need that will be effective for these children. When I researched which program would work best, I did choose IXL. This is available to certain groups of my high school students, but not all, because we do fragment different types of platforms for different students on math. Please look into this, and please consider contacting me or my principal about getting the high school teachers what they need to provide the appropriate instruction for the ISA children. Thank you.
Hello. One of the texts that I teach in 10th grade ELA is Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail. It's a text included in the best standards, which we use to teach students how to analyze rhetoric. Within this letter that calls attention to the need for direct action for people who were oppressed and unfairly treated, Martin Luther King Jr. goes into great detail explaining his reasoning for why he believed that it's our civic responsibility to break laws that are unjust in order to call attention to their inequity. There are laws on our books right now in the state of Florida that apply to education that are unjust. Martin Luther King said that any law that uplifts human personality is just. Any law that degrades human personality is unjust. Now, Martin Luther King was a brilliant thinker, and his moral consciousness was on a whole nother level, but I believe he would agree that the law that will not allow our students and our staff to identify with the way that they want and express who they love degrades human personality. This law is negatively affecting the mental health of our LGBTQ+ students and staff. This law is empowering bullies and hate groups to harass and threaten our LGBTQ+ community, which means that instead of moving forward towards a world where all feel safe and supported, we are taking steps backward. I understand that our school board has little power over making the law in Tallahassee, but I wonder what the members on our school board with ties with these hate groups are doing to stop these people from threatening and harassing our students and staff. And I hope that our school board will go to Tallahassee to fight these unjust laws. I hope this district will make moves to be on the right side of history and ensure that all students and all staff are able to learn and teach in an environment that supports them. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Weston Waugh and Brad DeCourt.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Weston Waugh. I've heard a lot tonight about how guidance is needed from the school board to interpret these laws. I'm wondering if you've heard some recent statements from the state regarding the laws. This is taken. Plaintiffs allege that some parents, these are two lawsuits that the Equality Florida was one of them who challenged the state, and the cases were dismissed, but there was some clarification from the state on what is covered by the law and what is not covered by the law. So I'd like to share that with you. Plaintiffs allege that some parents worry that they may no longer be included in school events, including career day or other classroom activities. Other parents worry that they may not be able to authentically present themselves, that some teachers are petrified to directly address bullying based on a student's gender identity, that others believe rainbow flags must be removed from classrooms, that LGBTQ teachers cannot mention their partners, or that the students cannot mention having LGBT parents. But there's no arguable, the court said, there's no arguable vagueness in any of these actions. These actions are not classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity, even if they involve parties who mention a sexual orientation or gender identity. There was a second case where the statute does not even arguably, this is from the state, restrict library books, safe space stickers, student attire, student clubs, or students or parents expressing themselves, such as by speaking about their families. None of that is classroom instruction. Now, I'm not sure if you knew all that beforehand, but this is coming from the state who wrote the law, and this is how they defended themselves in these lawsuits. So please keep all of that in mind as you consider these guidelines. Thank you.
Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Hendrick, and staff, my name is Brad DeCourt. I taught ELA for over 22 years here in Pinellas County. before retiring last year. As an ELA teacher with a degree in American literature and a lifelong avid reader, choosing what to read has always been an important freedom to me. The freedom to choose what to read is fundamental freedom that everybody should enjoy. While every parent does have the right to help choose or set restrictions for their own child, they do not have the right to restrict or to set restrictions for all children. Students have rights too. They want to read stories with characters that they can relate to, characters who act like them, think like them, and most importantly, face the same issues that they face in real life. Because adults feel discomfort when addressing these topics, their discomfort should not be put above a student's right to read and learn about their world. This brings me to my word of the day, empathy. The ability to understand and share the feelings of others. Where is our empathy? Where is our understanding that people are different? This is one major casualty of the lack of access to certain books. Reading stories about people who may be different than you helps you understand and feel for others. As stated by Atticus Finch in one of the most challenged books in the country, To Kill a Mockingbird, when talking to his daughter, Scout, he says, "First of all, if you learn a simple trick, Scout, you'll get along a lot better with all kinds of folks. You never really understand a person until you consider things from their point of view, until you climb inside their skin and walk around in it." The process of challenging and then the banning of books that individuals don't agree with is harming not only our students but our society. Some people may disagree with the term book banning, but if you make a conscious effort to prohibit access to a book or books that were previously accessible in schools based on content, you are banning those books. Challenged books can also provide many life lessons for our students. They can teach to stand up for what is right, to be kind and compassionate to others, to not judge others too quickly, that everyone deserves to be treated with respect, that the world is not always fair. It is important to fight for justice. It is important to be understanding towards others. These lessons are also from To Kill a Mockingbird.
The next two speakers are Dawn Douglas and Kelsey Donegan.
Good evening. Good evening, board. Thank you, Superintendent. I appreciate your time and your attention. My name is Dawn Douglas. I'm a middle school reading teacher here in Pinellas County for the last 20 years. And I'm very concerned with the Constitution, teaching, and what and how we're teaching our children in the classroom. I was quite shocked this year with all the discussion of the books we can and cannot provide in our classroom or discuss. Somehow, the Bible has trickled into my classroom. It is part of the 7th grade reading program, iReady, that's been developed and distributed by the district, by this building. And I've been teaching the book of Esther from the Old Testament. I printed it from the district website. I can't believe that we're melding church and state together in this manner. What's interesting, I really think it probably was put in there at someone's behest to promote national Christianity. But at the same time, the story itself is a celebrated Jewish holiday, Purim. The story is significant in their celebration of that day. I'm concerned if we cross those lines, what else can happen? I don't mind not teaching some books that people find offensive. That has always been our way, always. I had a child in this class next to me a couple years ago. Teacher was doing a class book. Mother didn't want the child to be part of it. The child came to my room with a separate book, separate work, and quietly worked during the 3 weeks The class was working on that. That's never been a problem in our district. We have always been respectful of parents' wishes. That is not new. We don't need to be forced to do that. But I do have a problem if I'm being asked to teach Bible stories in my class. I'd like to you to think about that, please. And if someone could please, at some point, reach out to me and let me know why I'm teaching Bible stories, I would really appreciate it. Again, thank you for your time.
Hello, good evening. I am Kelsey Donegan, 9th and 10th grade English teacher at St. Petersburg High School. Much of what I'm going to say tonight you have already heard, but I'm going to repeat it because it does bear repeating. Firstly, I wish I wasn't here. I wish so many of the people here were happy and safe and felt no need to give any notes tonight. I wish we weren't having to come and ask for protection and basic rights. I wish we weren't here fighting for things that states with vastly lower teacher vacancies don't have problems with. One of my fellow teachers was attacked. On a school night, they received threatening phone calls spewing white supremacist and Nazi ideology, letting them know they had been doxxed somewhere online. They were threatened for a simple, immutable aspect of their identity, for daring to exist as they are. A few days later, a pizza was sent to their home, a threat to let them know that their address was known. Shortly after that, their car window was smashed. The police told them that they are a public figure and that their information is available. When they tried to have their information protected after having already been attacked, they were informed that teachers do not have the same privileges afforded to firefighters, police officers, EMTs, code enforcement officers, and many other civil servants, despite our profession being one of the most commonly attacked. What do you say when your friend is crying for fear of safety for themselves and their family, and the people who are supposed to protect them are offering no help and doing nothing? Earlier tonight, another fellow teacher from St. Pete High, Ms. Vincent, brought up a letter from Birmingham Jail, which I also just covered in my ELA class. One quote I'd like to bring up from there is Dr. King writes, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." You must do something to protect your teachers and students. Please offer a voice to Tallahassee that Pinellas County will not abide injustice. Thank you.
Madam Chair, there are no more speakers.
Thank you, Mrs. Hauk, and thank you to everyone for attending today's meeting. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.